So close. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty. Here is our contractually mandated intro music. Yeah, I apologize for that. My parole officer has a cousin who does music. Anyway, it's a thing. But the good thing is that musical cavalcade should assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a high-quality podcast. Only the finest farm-to-table, ethically sourced, geeky conversation for your podcast listening pleasure. And here today I have well-known Canadian RPG guy, David Okum, joining us of Okum Arts. How are you doing, sir?
Well, as can be expected under the circumstances, I suppose.
I understand. At least you're still living in a country that has a sane leader. You have my,
we hope.
Let me mention this at the top so I don't forget it. We're talking about Dave's RPGs, and you can find his Patreon. It has lots of cool stuff at tinyurl.com/OkumArts, OKUM Arts. If you're watching the show, you can see a delightful blue banner with that scrolling beneath us. If you're listening to us on iTunes, God bless you. Appreciate that. But that's why we say the URL out loud. So Dave's doing a Patreon, and Zine Month is July. So there's about a week left, International Zine Month.
Yeah.
And you are doing, let me share, because you got some cool arts for this. You are doing a Hoser mode.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, Hoser mode is one of the zines I'm doing. I've been doing zines for the past year, role-playing games, and basically in effect, of all different kinds, shapes, and sizes. And Hoser mode is a hack of Morkborg. And the inspiration, I think, is a combination of Trailer Park Boys and Beachcombers and classic Canadian shows like Littlest Hobo. Even throwbacks to shows like the Edison Twins, which was a 1980s kids show about kids that solved mysteries in their neighborhood. So there's a lot of, even people like, we're talking about Degrassi with this game. Could you do that? Well, that's one of the optional classes is a kid. So theoretically you could play a kid from Degrassi on the street. So, so Hoser mode is basically a Canadian caper game in the spirit of Trailer Park Boys, where things kind of unravel on the characters, and the characters are sort of scrambling to keep everything on track or fix the problems before they become bigger. So I think that's a fairly typical Canadian approach to get rich quick schemes, at least in our media.
Fair enough. Sometimes I hear the stories, the titles of Canadian TV shows, and I'm like, did you really have a show called Littlest Hobo, or you just put me on?
We did. That was a very long-running show. Mike Myers was in an episode when he was a teenager. He was like a Frisbee champ or something like that. They're just very kind of, people always throw the word wholesome around. But I don't think you'd say Trailer Park Boys is wholesome. No. But it certainly has an endearing quality to it. So despite the fact that these people are doing, horrible things, you kind of start rooting for them, and you start getting connected to them. And I think that's kind of typical with a lot of Canadian dramas and comedies and shows like that. Yeah.
I think one of the things I like the best about Trailer Park Boys, and that maybe they lost in the last season or the animated spinoff, was that there was always heart.
Mm-hmm.
There was always a sense of community or friendship or love amongst the characters, and I think maybe that's what you're talking about. I guess Letterkenny. I don't know how Canadians feel about Letterkenny, but
well, the Letterkenny is interesting because the guy that made that, he went to the same university I went to, and he films it up in Sudbury, but he's from a small town nearby called Listowel. So a lot of his inspiration comes from sort of the rural community around where I am right now, which is Waterloo. So when I see it, I recognize it immediately. I'm not as interested in it. I think it's just the structure and the format. But I know some people are just crazy about it. And I do reference it in the game.
Everyone I know who really likes that show is an American.
I think you're right. It's like Rush, everybody loves Rush. And I mean, I remember hearing it and going, yeah, that's good. But it never really captured my attention like something like the Spoons or Bruce Cockburn or other, bands at the time. I think there's a lot of that. I think we export our culture around the world, and people kind of pick up on things that sometimes we don't expect.
Yeah. Popular Justin Bieber, who could have predicted it, but there it is. I'm sorry, that's a horrible example, but yeah, I was watching someone online today, and she was an online historian who did what now. She has a podcast, and she was getting had some kind of remarks about Canadians, and the Canadian were saying, "Hey, what do you say about Canadians?" And she's like, "Oh no, you're lovely people. All the evil in your country has been boiled off and condensed into geese. The rest of you are lovely."
Yes, well, and you'll notice that there are geese on the cover, and that is not by accident. They are, we call them cobra chickens here, and essentially they are.
He has fangs, doesn't he?
I think I gave him fangs. Yeah. They do have like weirdly shaped beaks sometimes. But there is a story of an event that happened a couple of years ago where a gang of Canadian geese cornered a wild turkey, and they scared it so much that it flew through the window of a university professor's office, and it crashed the window, mortally wounding itself, and it bled out on his desk and on top of all the papers he was marking. And that kind of sums up our relationship with cobra chickens here. They are terrifying. They are very intimidating creatures.
So speaking of things that are terrifying, Mörk Borg is well known for having its kind of, Scandinavian death metal sort of branding and feel. And you have hacked it for Canadian themed adventures. Can you explain to me the appeal of the Mörk Borg rule set for what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I really like Mörk Borg because it's a very shaved down. It's a system that is very rules light, and so it's easy to pick up. It's easy to transfer to other genres. I find that what I'm kind of going for with Hoser Mode is a caper, so that there is I guess kind of like the Fargo TV series in a way, or Fargo movie, the kind of a Coen Brothers kind of feel to it, where the best laid plans tend to unravel very epically. And I find that Hoser Mode has sort of a built-in danger zone there, I guess, that if you are going to mess up, you're going to mess up big, and it's going to have consequences. And so I wanted to have a game that kind of felt like it could go sideways at any moment. And that kind of summed up what I felt Hoser Mode was about. Now, Mörk Borg does have omens, or like hero points you can spend, or bennies, you can spend to reduce some of the failure, which kind of adds to the cinematic quality of a game. I call them loonies in Hoser Mode, so we call our dollar coins loonies, and I think that would be it'd be a lot of fun to actually have loonies as your way out, pay the GM or something. I don't know, put it in a pool. But I think it's kind of a fun switcheroo. I've done a little bit of play testing with this. There was a game I wrote a couple years ago called Backwoods, which was very much inspired by kind of Coen Brothers films, and I had that small town, rural town feel to it as well, kind of isolated town. And I'm using that experience of running that game as a foundation for what I want to do with Hoser Mode, because some of the, I guess, antics the characters got up to weren't very epic, but they were very meaningful to the players. When they started unraveling and failing, it got very serious, and it got funny. It got funny too, but it got very important. So.
Yeah, I find as I get older, I sort of prefer RPG plots that are higher personal stakes but lower universal stakes, if you know what I mean.
I agree, and I think that we expect there's going to be earth shattering, apocalyptic storylines like Buffy, but the best Buffy episodes were never about that. That was always just kind of a means to an end. And I think the personal stories are more important. And so the character creation in Hoser mode focuses on your like your kit, what you've got with you, your expertise, what you're good at, your experience, so what you're known for, and your cred. So what you've done in the past, like if you punched out a moose, or if you
If you're the toughest guy in town, or if you're his squirrely best friend, or
like if you saw Bigfoot, or if your local search and rescue knows that these woods, so you've got some experience. So I mean, there's a way of making the stories about the characters, and I think if you talked about we were talking about shows like Trailer Park Boys with heart. I think that's the heart comes in the characters and the relationships with the characters, and when a character can get away and then they stop and then they realize my friends need me, where they can move in and actually try and help them. That to me is good role playing, and that's very satisfying as a GM as well.
Yeah, I would agree. So The Littlest Hobo is it's a dog show, and
it's a dog,
and you're going to have this is going to be fun. You have a dog character class.
They have 2 optional classes. There's 6 basic classes. There's the backwoods. So there's the manhunter kind of expert at being in the wilderness. There's the enforcer, kind of like a hockey enforcer, big guy, or someone who just can handle themselves physically. There's the greasy, who you can't really trust them, kind of con men, and they've always got something, system, and they've always got something going. Then there's the law. Doesn't have to be a police officer. It could be a trailer park supervisor or something like that. Then there's Scallywag, which is somebody who is a little shady, makes a lot of plans, but they're kind of endearing. It's kind of a fun way. And then there's Shed Tech, which was inspired partly by Red Green and Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. So somebody who's got
oh wow, Red Green, you're taking me back.
I got it in the shed, and duct tape will save the day. But so those are the 6 basic classes, and then the 2 optional or bonus classes that are in the book are the kid and the wandering dog. Couldn't call it the Littlest Hobo, but that's the spirit of it. That's the spirit of what inspired it. And I've had a game I'd made years ago for my friends that we played, where a dog was a character class, and my friend played the dog, and it was so much fun. It was so funny. In that system, you could only know so many English words or human words as your intelligence score, but it went up with your level. So he had to make a list of what he knew, so that when people were talking to him, he had to filter out what he understood.
It is pretty clever. Guy I know, John Kennedy, helped write and publish a game last year called Heckin' Good Doggos.
Yes. Yeah.
Was a wild success on Kickstarter, and I saw my local shop just last month. So
it's nice when you see the games that you saw Kickstarter for in the wild somewhere. That's always exciting to see them.
My local game shop guy is great for supporting RPGs. He's got a whole section of his bookshelves for that. Even has a spinner rack for books like these for zines. He pays his rent with War Game Minis and Magic the Gathering, but he still flies the flag for RPGs, and I really appreciate that. So
my game store that I go to is mostly focused on board games and Magic, but they've been pretty good about ordering things in and making sure they have something available, which I appreciate. Yeah.
So when is Morkborg coming out? Or if someone wants it, is it sort of like they can pick it up piecemeal on your Patreon and it'll be compiled eventually, or what's the plan?
So Hoser Mode should be coming out the end of the month. So usually it's taken me about a month to write them, and then a couple days to edit them and just make sure they're ready for public consumption. So I find generally it's like the 9th to 10th of the next month. Usually that's when I release them. I do release them on Drive-Thru Role Playing as well, and the Patreon supporters do get to have a link to the Drive-Thru Role Playing documents so that they can have it in their library at Drive Through Role Playing as well, just in case they don't, they have to stop the Patreon support, so that they can access it later in case they have to re-download it or something. So I think that's something that somebody else did, and I thought that was a nice courtesy. So I thought, yeah, I'd like to do that for my supporters on there. Yeah,
it feels like even I do Kickstarter delivery sometimes, and I like, hey, you got your books? Like, yeah, but we want them on drive-through so that we can always download them again, because your Google Live link, your Google Drive link will die eventually. So, yeah.
And I agree, and I think that's just for me. It's been very convenient for a lot of things I've picked up, to be able to have that, and yeah, I think it's a good idea. I guess the benefit of the zine is that there are exclusives that appear on the Kickstarter, on the Patreon, I should say. I'm of course trying to get everything, a print version of everything as well, to sell it or to give it at cost to people, so they have to pay for shipping, but they could order it at cost. And that's been the biggest challenge, has been trying to get the material off to Drive Through for print on demand. But for me, being a one guy operation, I've been basically writing and drawing and getting all this stuff ready, and having the other material has been sometimes a little challenging. But I think that's the ultimate goal, is to have both available for each of the releases.
Yeah, I understand. I generally have to pay a freelancer to do my layout, so that's something I wrestle with too. And POD is always a little bit more of a pain.
Oh, it is, yeah. And I mean, I teach how to use InDesign at the college, and there are problems that I've encountered because just the nature of the printer, Lightning Source. Sometimes they don't give me the feedback I need to fix it. They say it won't work, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? What can I fix? And then they just say, well, it doesn't work, and so that becomes a bit of a challenge to kind of solve through that problem. It's like being a blind man in the elephant, right? Like you just
what's really frustrating about that is you can take a file that's been rejected by Drive-Through Lightning Source and go to other POD vendors online, and that same file will work just fine.
Yeah, I've been told that. Yeah.
It's I'm not sure what exactly happens there, but it's it can be frustrating. I want to show you something related to zines that I just saw today, and I'm not sure what to make of this. I loved this show when I was a kid. I didn't know they were. Well, let me just show you. This guy, Dungeon Club Games, just posted on Blue Sky today that he's going to be kickstarting a Mork Borg version of Mork and Mindy.
I've often thought of Mork Borg and Mork and Mindy. Never thought about making it as a game, but I mean, there's something there.
I mean, you can have similar to, I guess, what you're doing with Moser Mode. You have sitcom-esque heists and shenanigans, and although, I mean, I guess you have the problem you have with the Doctor Who game, in that you have one character with superpowers, basically.
Right.
And everyone else who hangs out with them. So I'm not sure how you balance that, but
well, I think that fish out of water nature of Mork, might be the kryptonite, right? That the other characters have to help him with. And
yeah.
I can see that happening. I have run the Doctor Who role playing game, and the way to solve that is I just had everybody play companion level characters, and they had sort of adjacent adventures to the or spin-off adventures from episodes, and that's the way I solved it. But I remember the old FASA. Doctor, I'm old enough to remember playing that in high school, and that Who is the Doctor was kind of like, it's like who is the captain in Star Trek, right? Star Trek game.
Yeah, it's that guy's going to have a lot more fun than everybody else. Well, I guess they've had enough crossover episodes where you have multiple Doctor characters.
That is true. That is true.
Every once in a while.
I mean, being the geek I am, I did a Doctor Who campaign where everybody played a Time Lord that escaped the destruction of Gallifrey, and that we played out the destruction of Gallifrey, and then the campaign took place in E-Space, which was an alternate space from the Tom Baker era, and that was how they escaped. And I felt that was fun, but I kind of quickly ran out of ideas because they were all as powerful as the Doctor. It's just, how would you do with like 6 doctors? You know?
You'd have to have an evil Time Lord or a bunch of evil Time Lords to menace them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
A team of rivals. But,
Yeah, or mirror universe versions of themselves.
They've never done the mirror universe in Doctor Who, have they?
Well, there's Valeyard. I mean, there are elements of that, but yeah, they haven't really done anything officially like that. Which, I mean, that's something that could be. I mean, it's been running 20 years now. The new version, the new Who.
Oh God, I don't say that, but yes, yes, you're correct.
You know, it's kind of like I'm still impressed with the storylines they're coming up with and the way they're exploring things. And again, I think what's been the strength of New Who, the thing that's been keeping it going for so long has been the heart. It's been the characters. It's been the connections, and I think that's something. Like I was talking about Buffy. That's something I think that I'm more interested in, aside from like, oh, the Daleks are going to blow up the universe again. Like that. Okay, but I'm more interested in like how this character and this character are going to sort out, their problems than the big overall plot. And I think that translating that to a role-playing table isn't that difficult, really, because it's there's so much banter that happens at the table, and there's so much stuff that happens incidentally in a dungeon, where they're trying to stop the evil mage. But most of the fun is them goofing around with a zombie that they're torturing. That's where it comes in. That's where the fun starts in a lot of role playing. And I think this game kind of focuses on that minutia, kind of focuses on that, and kind of celebrates it. And that becomes the story.
Well, let me suggest something. I have been talking to James Kerr about this over the last few months about I'd like to have an actual play show for indie developers where we do, I think we had you on several years ago.
Yeah.
Try thinking maybe monthly or bi-monthly show where we do something like that, but we specifically spotlight, folks in the IGDN or, indie game developers in general, just because there's a lot of those games you don't always see as an actual play because everyone's playing, one of the Dragon-centric games. So.
Yeah, I did a sort of Stranger Things version of Shadow Dark as one of the first zines I did. I did a 3-part zine, a player's guide, a GM's guide, and an adventure. And the biggest question I get about that game, which is called Radical Kids.
Yeah, I saw that on your page, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest question I get about that game is how, like in a game that's as deadly as Shadow Dark, do you play these kids? Like, don't they just all die off? Is that the whole game? Like, is that the purpose? And I think an actual play would make so much more sense because you'd see that they built in, I added rules to kind of like, characters are going to go down if they try to, attack the vampire. They're all, they're going down. But it's not necessarily the end. It's what do you do next? And so there are systems in the zine that kind of work through that to help you understand. I had to rewrite the carousing table as well to make it more teenagers in the 80s level.
That kind of fits because if you think about it, even on Stranger Things, it very rarely, if ever, comes down to direct combat.
Yeah, well, and when it does, they're like dire consequences, right?
Yeah.
You can think of the characters that have sacrificed themselves in the game, and that it makes sense dramatically. But I kind of mentioned, I think there's a section in there like how you don't be a murder hobo. Like it's not going to go well for you in radical
consequences for that behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can pull it up. I can show it off real fast. That was Radical Kids, right?
That's right. Yeah, and that's also on Drive Through Role Playing, the three core books, and I have a bunch of paper miniature sets for that already. And a lot of the art for that came from the paper miniatures. So I have a set of monsters that are kind of based on 80s film monsters as well.
That's cool. That's a fun cover. I like that.
Yeah, I kind of based it on old like teen magazines, like the fun Memphis Design. I really love. I was part of that. I mean, well, I was a graphic designer at the University of Waterloo in the 80s. And so, I mean, I used that stuff non-ironically.
Yeah, I was looking at newspapers with a light table, wax, and razor blades, and we
Yep.
had graphical elements not dissimilar to these that we would use on some of our feature pieces.
I
So yeah,
remember making some concert posters, right? Like, just the same style. Much faster now with the computer, but
yeah.
the inspiration's still there, and I think my hand was still in it.
How'd you like working with Shadow Dark?
How working with the game, or
Yeah, just playing with that rule set. Was that a good time, or was it challenging, or?
For me, it's how I used to play D&D. It feels much more similar. I mean, there are a couple affectations like the torch timer and that sort of thing, which I'm not a big fan of. A lot of meta rules that kind of pull you out of it, but I do love the fact that darkness is dangerous, right? Like, darkness is not your friend in this game, and not everybody has night vision or dark vision. I don't think any character classes have that. So it's, for me, it becomes very much like how I used to remember, because the stakes are very high in Shadow Dark. It feels like if you're not careful or you're not smart, bad things are going to happen to your character. So decisions are a little bit more calculated. People help each other more. It just feels how it felt when I ran my old AD&D back in the day.
Yeah, I used to did a fair amount of spelunking when I was in the Boy Scouts back in this time frame. Hang on, I'm still on. And I remember talking to some guys I played D&D with while we're spelunking. I'm like, it'd be terrifying to fight even a small band of kobolds, in our this muddy tunnel that's just wide enough for us to walk single file, and things could go sideways. They could go bad so fast.
I've been in caves that are like tourist caves, and I remember as a kid, there's this one section the kids could slip through and come around, and just feeling like if I got stuck here, like, what would happen? Just scary to me.
Yeah, I'm not usually claustrophobic, but I've been in some caves where I had to squeeze through tight passages, and you can feel rock on your chest and on your back at the same time. And it just gives me the heebies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Indiana has a surprising amount of limestone-based caves, but it's but in D&D, so often that atmosphere isn't conveyed, and you're just walking into a 10x10 stone room and killing the orc for his stuff, and it's they kind of lose that kind of fear of being in a dark enclosed underground space isn't really there usually.
Yeah, and I can remember, like, the first time I ran D&D was like 82, I think it was. I got the box set 1981 Christmas, but I ran it in 82. And I remember we were very conscious of the fact of describing what it was like around you. And I remember that was a big thing for me. And then it just became, with bot adventures and running adventures, it just became more of like a murder hobo grind, right? Like, it just became go kill the orc, get their stuff, move to the next thing. So that sort of sense of danger from the environment, really, I don't recall until like later in the 80s with other games and other books that came out. Yeah.
I don't know if it's nice to see it back. I don't know if you could sustain that kind of feeling of fear and trepidation over a whole campaign. It'd be nice to see it in a few moments. And we're looking at Radical Kids, your GM's guide, and I recognize, I want to say, about 2/3 of these characters you get here.
Some of them are original, some of them are based on other things, and kind of inspired by and sort of characters that are inspired by existing 80s monsters, and then it's kind of spun off into their own thing. So yeah, like I said, a lot of the artwork that comes into the book and a lot of the characters and things and the lore kind of comes out of the miniatures I made a couple of years ago, like 2017 or something like that. Seems like that now, for Radical Kids, which is something I'd originally been working on for White Box and play tested with White Box, but it just didn't. White Box, I mean, it was okay, but it didn't feel right. And I wanted a game that was similar to how I felt like playing D&D in that time, because D&D, classic D&D was so important in the show Stranger Things, and D&D got a kind of a shot in the arm from it. I felt I wanted to kind of touch back, or call back to some of that. What was there? And so for me, doing Radical Kids as a game with Shadow Dark since Shadow Dark felt like how it was running D&D, it just seemed like a natural connection. Yeah.
So, just on this cover, I definitely see something inspired by the Gremlins. I see a werewolf who looks very familiar from a certain movie in that time frame.
Yes.
I see a evil doll. And the kid in question is wearing a yellow rain slicker, much like you picture that kid wearing in It.
Yeah, in It. Yeah. I think there's a clown. I think there are clowns in this. I know I put clowns in Witchvale, which was another game I did. But I wanted to have something that would be just sort of callbacks and visual clues to other things as well. Yeah, and then the adventure was a fun one to play, and it was a mall, and a store opens up in an abandoned store called the Goblin Market that is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and just goes on into this goblin realm. And it's that serious fun. It was just super fun, and time acts differently in there, and it was a hoot to run.
Is this this fellow on the cover here?
Yes,
he resembles a certain popular rock star from the 80s.
I think it could just be the hair.
Could just be the hair.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny because when I saw Ponyo by Studio Ghibli, Ponyo's dad, just had this Bowie-like sensibility about him, and I was like, I've got to use that character in something. And so, he became this regional manager of the goblins that I thought would be hilarious in this mall. And he takes everything so seriously, but it's just a mall. He's just manager in a mall. And for me, that's I love the kind of pop culture references that are kind of ironic and kind of some of the wind is taken out of them, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of cool to think of goblins in sort of a bureaucracy like that.
Yeah, and he's, I didn't really touch on it in the adventure, but I was thinking about it when I was writing it, like what other, goblin markets are out there with other managers, and what are they like? And I think that would be almost like an Office kind of thing where you could go with that, and what's the chain, what's the franchise like, Yeah,
when you get in trouble, you have to get pulled up into corporate, and it's a fertile field, sir. We should wrap things up one more time. tinyurl.com/okamarts. You can check out Dave's Patreon. Dave, we should talk. I'd love to have you back on to do a demo of one of your games at some point, if you're up for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of games. If you look at the Patreon, there's been so many zines I've made. I did some Starborg work. JP Kuvert and Kyle Latino wrote a great zine called Starborg, which was a big inspiration. You're just using Star Wars as Morkborg with Morkborg.
Does that feel like Star Wars though?
You know what? I've run it at conventions, and it has such a cinematic feel. We had Jedi jumping from there was a landspeeder chase, and there were Jedi and Sith jumping from landspeeder to landspeeder, and it felt so Star Warsy. it worked out really well. But it also, I think there's this sort of sense. Mike Evans did a thing on his blog where he did a game called I can't think of the name of it, but I think after he saw Andor, he felt that Morkborg would be such a good system for something like that. So I think that would it seems to work really well. But I did Starborg, and then I did Witchvale, which is like a Studio Ghibli style, but it's kind of inspired by the system is kind of the save the day system, which is very simple, and I really like that campaign. Then I've got the other stuff I've done with Radical Kids, and now I did some monster books for Shadow Dark as well, in sort of a old 15th century woodcut style. And now I wanted to go with Hoser mode, just kind of suits our national identity right now. And I think it's been a lot of fun to put together. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Sounds like that's a lot of cool stuff to choose from. Once again, folks, you can find Dave on Drive Thru RPG at Okum Arts, and you can find his Patreon, Okum Arts, or tinyurl.com/Okum Arts. So, Dave, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Always great. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, and for all those folks out there listening and watching, we will catch you next time on the BAF Podcast.
Take care.